for me, I haven't seen a ton of HellRaisers games. So you said they looked impressive during the qualifiers. Have to take your word for it. We're going to have to see what they do. But, you know, LGD and their sister team, LFY, like the Chinese scene is probably, of all the regions, the most competitive within itself.
Yes.
So, like, there's so many teams and there's so many good players and they're playing all the time and always, like, consistently, like, adapting to new stuff.
The depth of their Tier 2 scene is so big compared to others.
It's massive. So when you see a team like LGD coming from a region with such powerhouse names, them being considered maybe even a Tier 2 in that particular region doesn't even mean that they're bad. It just means that there's so many good teams that they could come into a tournament like the International where you see representation from all over the world, and they can still hold their own against anybody.
Yeah, and you've got some pretty legendary names here, like old school names. Super, I was a Super fanboy back in the day. I thought he was just this really cool, different kind of style of mid laner. He was kind of like I kind of refer to him as like a Chinese sort of Fada player, and that he was sort of a smothering and consistent play. He wasn't this flashy playmaker. He just kind of like picked those heroes that smothered the enemy playmaker, right? And just kind of did that. And DDC, a legend in his own right, going way back in the day with his Visage and Ancient Apparition. And then you've got some really cool new talent. You and I were both fanboying over Monet earlier.
Monet is a god. Like, he is... I can't remember who it was, but they were doing an interview of one of the players when they did... Was it I-League? Star Series I-League in China?
Yeah. I was there for the recent one, but I don't think I was there for...
Well, it was one of the big tournaments over there, and they were doing an interview, and they were asking Burning, who do they think was going to be like the replacements, like the Tier 1, like god tier carries, right? And its two first names were like Paparazzi and Monet.
Yeah.
He was like, these guys, you got to watch out for these guys. They're just insanely talented players, and you know, we saw during the last series, Paparazzi playing his Beyond Godlike Weaver.
Yep.
Had a very nice game for it, and this time around we're going to get to see Monet. Earlier, I saw him playing Void. I think it was actually on this stream as well. Not the series we just cast, obviously, but the one before where we had a break.
Right.
We saw his Void,
versus
and it was...
Execration,
yeah, it was phenomenal. So, I guess getting back a little bit towards the draft, we got a few heroes on the board now that we can talk about. Oracle, I always see this as kind of like the direct bat counter. He's probably the absolute best hero against bat, besides maybe like a Nyx Assassin if you want to talk about like being disruptive.
Yeah.
But Oracle defensively is the best, hands down.
And you've got some really good synergy with this hero, the Death Prophet, picked up by LFY, and that is, I think, right in Super's roundhouse. He's going to be very happy with this, and is going to be enabled by these two supports. The Oracle on the defensive side, making sure the Death Prophet doesn't get bursted down, and then also amplifies the healing that you're going to be getting from maybe the Exorcism Ghost returning, but more likely Spirit Siphon. That's just going to amplify that healing you get from that. I think then the vision that is granted by Night Stalker is also very important for Death Prophet when it comes to sieging down these towers and preventing strong initiation on you. But on the HellRaiser side, you know, we were talking about LFY so much. I want to give a little bit of flavor to HellRaisers here, because this is a draft they're very comfortable with as well. They're very happy with this because they made their name from the qualifier run where they figured out this really cool Night Stalker Lycan, where they were running it either together or the Lycan picked up against the Night Stalker, just because Night Stalker is going to be making it nighttime a lot. Hal does a lot when it is night, so it kind of takes advantage of something that is supposed to be an advantage for the LFY team with this night.
That was like the strat during the qualifiers, wasn't it? The whole Lycan Night Stalker versus or together kind of combination. I mean, it's better than Chen heal, and it's a base ability at night. Like, come on.
Poor Chen.
Where are my Chen buffs?
Poor Chen.
I mean, personally, I don't play Chen, so I don't really care if the hero gets buffed. It just seems kind of silly that the ability is just that strong. However, I will say that LFY are looking a little bit prepared for the kind of damage output that Lycan can do. So what I like about Death Prophet and Sven, they have great synergy with each other. You get the Warcry plus 20 armor, the bonus movement speed, right? So you can have that Death Prophet front line. You don't have to really worry about getting chewed up by the Lycan just being on top of you with a BKB. Worst comes to worst, you have the ultimate, the False Promise. You can throw it on him, you get the healing coming out. It's like a double benefit as well with the Spirit Siphons, so you're getting like double the healing from that.
Yep.
You're kind of building up around this unkillable Death Prophet that you kind of just want to siege with. So I think that LFY's game plan, you have 5-man potential with just the 3 heroes. You know, we're not even counting the Night Stalker. Like, that hero is just strong on his own. He doesn't necessarily need to 5-man if he doesn't want to. And there's another 5-man hero, the Tide Hunter. So you have your Aura carrier in the Tide. You have your armor hero who also can substitute as a front line in the Sven. Your save for the Bat, and also make your core unkillable for like 8 to however many seconds it is at level 3 on the Oracle, and then vision control with the Night Stalker. It's an extremely balanced lineup for a 5-man lineup.
I'm not even sure what you do here. Do you draft like Ancient Apparition or because I'm looking at this and looking all the advantages that HellRaisers get from their lineup, which is they have a lot of mobility, right? So they love to be able to, they're going to play the, back and forth game, right? LFY's lineup forces you to come to them, right? Because they're going to be running this Death Prophet and pushing into tower, like that sort of threat is what forces the enemy team onto you. You don't have to worry so much about the mobility aspect that HellRaisers is going to be bringing to the table if they're the ones forced to fight into you all the time. So I'm not sure what kind of support can rectify this kind of problem for them, because I would say, okay, just go all out and split push and try and force LFY apart as much as possible. But with your cores already picked up in Batrider and Queen of Pain, they're not really going to promote that so much. It's just Lycan who's really going to promote a lot of pushing. So, in the other side, if you're going to pick up a support, it's just got to be a lot of team fight potential, but...
Whoa! That is very different.
That is very different. I think it's very cool, right? Because if you can stop the Tidehunter from having his Ravage or the Oracle from having that saving mechanism, then you can actually win that team fight that you're forced into against LF1.
I mean, there's 3 great Doom targets. I mean, here's the way I see it. Even if you were to Doom Super in this game...
Yep.
And he doesn't get the ghosts off, even if he gets saved, you're buying yourself like 10 plus seconds of fighting time. You're saying, okay, in these 10 seconds, we get a lasso on somebody else, we kill them, because the Oracle's probably going to be focused on the Doom target, and then you kill that hero. Maybe LFY doesn't feel confident in taking the fight anymore. Maybe they run away. Now, it does make the laning phase a little bit weaker, because we all know that Doom doesn't really offer a ton in the laning phase, but if the whole purpose of it is to just take the fights on your own terms, you have good pickoff potential with the Batrider already, you get a lasso, you get a Doom on the right target, there is potential for HellRaisers to win the fights.
And I think what's also really cool about this Doom is that he is a great support to be running in an aggro dual lane. So if you put Doom and Batrider together, they're actually going to do a great job threatening this tri-lane, right? Because Oracle is not a strong hero at dealing with pressure, right? He's very similar to Shadow Shaman in that regard. He loves just the solo offlaner that he could sit there with his Fortune's End, just holding on to that Q and then getting a really long ensnare. But multiple heroes he doesn't do well against. Night Stalker wants to be able to roam around. So this pressure that they're going to put in is actually going to be very good at keeping bull supports at top lane, and it still may not be able to fight Batrider Doom, even with 3 heroes. It's just that's not what the lineup is really meant for. The way I see this is that I think HellRaisers have to do really well in their laning phase, and their team fight execution is a lot harder. Meanwhile, LFY, they're looking to just kind of survive through the laning phase, get to their mid-game swing, and it's not an autopilot, by say, but they are going to be the ones kind of like with a very clear game plan.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. It is a lot easier to just walk down a lane and hit ghosts, and then have your Tide Hunter stand behind, and maybe your Sven's helping you frontline as well. And you still have that backup in the Oracle. So yeah, execution-wise, definitely agree LFY have a clear advantage. It is pretty straightforward. Just walk down a lane, have all your abilities, have the item timings that you want, I guess in this type of game, you'd probably see the mech on the Tide Hunter.
I've been a bit critical of Inflame past. I felt like he's been somewhat of the weakest link for LFY, but I love this play right here. So smart. Picking up the boots, get to the smoke out. He's going to just pop out and drag that first creep wave away. That gets him faster to a level 2. It kind of resets the creep equilibrium as well. I think this is something that, a lot of offlaners attempt with heroes like Batrider or something, but they're probably not expecting it from Tide.
Yeah, and the other part of it, too, is if you think that... He has the vision, right, because he placed the ward.
Yeah.
So he knows how many heroes are going to be there, and he understands, okay, can I actually pull the wave or can I not? Am I going to end up dying? Sometimes even dying is okay, because, you die in a lane, you end up getting a double wave by your tower, you get a ton of EXP. It's just a trade-off all the time. That's what the offlane's all about, is trading your life worth it in what scenario, and then you make the best of whatever situation you get.
especially against this hero. Maledict against any of those tanky offlaners is super annoying to play against. Just because it forces you away for that whole entire time. Just,
you know, you mentioned super annoying. What's happening mid? Super annoying. This is a get me out moment.
Poor Super's like, this is not the game that I like to play. I'm supposed to kind of smother this enemy mid laner, but he's actually being the one smothered by Napalm. Melange is sitting there. Q. And they've got their, they swapped. Because I saw 33 pick up the Bat Rider, so they must have swapped. This is actually going to be a core Doom and a support Bat Rider, rather than what they were proposing in the first place.
Well, I think the cool thing about having the Doom in this type of role is he does actually carry items relatively well. You can make Doom incredibly beefy.
Yes.
Like, he can be that front line. The big issue with him normally is that his armor is so low during the beginning of the game that even though he has one of the largest health pools, he has one of the worst effective HPs for it because he just can't take a physical hit.
Yeah. Going into the mid game, he's like so cooldown dependent too with Doom, but if you get the items, then you're not so cooldown dependent, right? It's like Doom is nice, but if you actually have the items, Blink Dagger, and have a decent amount of tankiness, you know, say a Plate Mail or something to deal with that loss of armor, then you could just run in, just the Infernal Blade and Scorcher. Yep. And you're actually still very effective in these team fights. It all just starts with having a successful laning phase. And he started off in the jungle, managed to get a troll, so he just created a skeleton army that cleared through creep camps pretty quickly. And he's already level 3 as he returns to lane at 2 minutes in.
He's had a phenomenal start, and I would expect this lane, it can deal a fair amount of damage to him. I think he'll have to be a bit careless to actually die, though. He's going to take some damage here, but be okay. And I wanted to hit on something too, since we were talking about Lycan a bit earlier in the day, and mentioning like the difference in skill builds and stuff, and item builds that people now do. Okay, he might actually be dead this time. See if he can perhaps... Nope, he's on cooldown. He did.
Does he provide some sort of miracle juke? Indeed, he is going to be the first blood. TDC actually won to snag it.
Yeah, I was going to mention kind of like swift ending style on the hero playing Lycan. I'm curious if they're going to make the Doom get the Vlads, for example, and let him go straight for the book, like you were mentioning. I think Arteezy was the one who was doing that.
Yeah.
Because I think it's kind of conducive to your play, right? If you don't have to buy Vlads on Lycan, I don't think you want to. Because you farm actually fairly fast on a hero. You take towers as well, so you get a lot of net worth really quickly. And sometimes it's nice to be able to save up for the bigger items like the Book 3 or the BKB, for example, instead of buying the little stuff.
Yeah.
But it depends, I guess, on how good of a game 33 actually has.
Yeah, it was either... someone did it in Dream League, so it was either Resolution or it was Matumba Man. I think it might have been Matumba Man. Arteezy told me in a pub that he saw Matumba Man do it, and he tried it out, and it just seems really good. And you provided a couple reasons why, right? There was a attack speed buff or something like that?
Well, the big thing is the build now is about Howl and Feral Impulse because they changed the way the spells work. So you get like the bonus regen, Feral Impulse is just pretty much better than it was before, Howl is better than it was before, and you don't really want to skill wolves because of how good Howl and Feral Impulse are,
right. And
you kind of want it for the laning phase. So I think in that sense, it makes the book a stronger build.
Yeah, but when you have like level 1 Necronomicon and you don't quite have the full-on maxed out abilities, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, even though Mask of Madness is amazing, in some games, it just doesn't really feel good to build that item against heroes like a Sven, for example.
Yeah.
Because it's a great farming item. And if you have just like one mana regen item, you have plenty to be able to sustain, especially if you're tread switching middle lane.
Super is going to be caught here with that Maledict. There's no way he's getting out, so HellRaisers do plan a nice gank in the mid lane. Help Kaiser get a bit farther ahead. He's even got a haste rune for the next round if he wants. Meanwhile, 33 in the bottom lane. Try to go on him. Not really getting it, though.
You know, I think a lot of people actually underestimate Doom. I think he's one of the heroes that people just haven't really found the perfect way to utilize him yet. Yeah. Like, they have ideas. Okay, yeah, he's great if you get your Doom off on the right target at the right time. But everywhere between that point where you're casting Doom, it seems like there's a lot of gray area. Yeah. People are, like, unsure about how the best way to run him is, what lane. Do you run him as a safe lane? Because I've seen Ramses play that hero in pubs as a position 1.
Yeah.
And he owns with it. Like, he just destroys people. He gets max Infernal Blade, just walks at you and just, bam, hits you in the face. And it's an insane amount of damage. Like, it's 5% of your max health per second for 4 seconds.
I think there's a lot of intricacy to how you want to farm on the Doom as well. Like, how much time do you spend playing off of jungle? Do you max out the Devour? When do you max out the Devour? For example, like, I've seen a couple of builds where you only go 2 levels of Scorched Earth, and you get maxed out Devour by level 7. Just to really start speeding up that farming process. Because I think Doom, as an offlaner, is definitely a farming one. Right? He's not a super active hero. He plays around his Doom timings, yes, but he is a hero that wants to continue to build up in items, like you said.
And we'll see if he has time to do that this game. Really curious about how he decides to itemize. Might be in a bit of trouble here, though. He does have his teammates behind him.
If anything, he might just bait a bad fight from LFY, but it doesn't look like they're going to take it. Monet even popping the healing salve just to get like 200 HP extra off of that.
Oh, did they actually see the smoke? Because they have a ward by the shrine. I might have missed that. Yeah, I might have missed that too.
But there, it looks like they're still going to be caught by it. DDC is going to be run over by Milan, but they actually still want to target Monet. But he actually doesn't have Fate's Edict, so he can't protect him against all this magic damage. So DDC either going to have to turn, maybe fight, look if they could just trade kills, because Monet is definitely dying to this Maledict. Last pop takes that kill. Now with the help of Kaiser, they're going to finish off DDC. And Afu, who wrapped all the way around through the dire jungle area and tried to get in between that tower, runs into the fight far too late to do anything but collect the creep experience.
I'm surprised that as long as that took to happen, it still worked. Normally when you have a situation where Monet clearly knew something was up, right? Like, he walked away, he popped his salve, he was sitting like really close to the tower, and that gank still succeeded. It's very rare, I think, at this level of Dota to see stuff like that happen. Because people just play more defensively, you know, they sit behind the tower, they wait, they have TPs. This time around, though, LFY getting caught off guard. Could be again here mid.
Maledict, super, trying to get the Spirit Siphon up, but there's just too much burst damage. So HellRaisers really taking it to LFY right now. It's 4-1, they've got over 2k gold lead. Even Swift Ending is standing up very well against the Tidehunter because he's got Hal. As you said, like, in some situations, it's better than Chen heal. So he's just oftentimes standing and fighting against the Tidehunter despite the Anchor Smash. Normally, this 1v1 Tidehunter versus melee hero should go very well for him.
The Feral Impulse, I think, is the big player here, too. I mean, it's 7 health regen at level 3.
Yeah.
When it gets to the level 4, it's going to be 10. I think, you know, maybe some of the people who are not as experienced in playing position 1 really undervalue just how much 10 health regeneration actually is. But, you know, you think about it this way, a creep wave spawns every 30 seconds. That means every 30 seconds you're getting 300 health back. Like, if you think of it in that sense and not just, oh, I'm getting 10 HP a second, it seems a lot more valuable, because you get a random Anchor Smash every now and then. You don't have any regen, you might have to go back to base, right? And that's time off the map. But if you're just able to sit in the lane all the time, it's so much better.
I like the way you think about that. It's like 300 HP you can use to get CS.
Yeah, exactly. If you can't be in the lane, then you're not farming.
Yeah. He's going to be pushed back once again into his tower, but he's done this. Again, Milan and Afu going to trade shots between the two of them. Yeah, I mean, look, his CS is really not harmed at all, despite the Anchor Smash. He's currently sitting 57 and 8, compared to the Tidehunter, who's sitting at 2, and the Sven, which is more comparable, 56-19.
Yep.
So HellRaisers, they're up in kills, they're up in CS. Everything about this laning phase is going well for them. But we said that's how it should be, right?
Yeah. The Death Ball has not yet formed itself on the side of LFY, and that's going to be the real test. How much can HellRaisers do before LFY just run at them? And we do see a fairly sizable Ancient stack here being done by Monet. He's got the max points into the Great Cleave. Good amount of income for him. But yeah, it's more about the timings of LFY. You know, when can they go and do something? When are they going to use the first Exorcism? Because right now, Super, he's definitely been struggling. It's 71-24 on the Queen of Pain on the side of HellRaisers versus Super's 36-9. So it hasn't necessarily been a close laning phase. But all that can kind of change if HellRaisers decide to try to take a poor engagement around teamfight that LFY have, or they just are able to get objectives and they can bring themselves back into the game that way.
It is going to be a bit of a tough fight for HellRaisers in defending those objectives, whether it's Outer Towers or even Roshan fighting into Ravage plus Death Prophet. bit of a tough proposition. That's why they've got to make the most of the laning phase they're currently in. Looks like Swift Ending is going to be kind of going for the Mask of Madness Echo Saber build. I'm a bit surprised by this, specifically because the Sven, as you were kind of talking about, Inflame being gone on, had a really lucky paralyzing cast bounce there from J4. Gets brought pretty low from the Maledict, but it's not going to be enough for him to pop by itself. It is only...
Well, the Mask of Madness is still like a great farming tool, if nothing else.
Yeah.
And on heroes that don't have a whole lot of buttons, you're able to just, you know, pop what you want, go in, hit the Mask of Madness, and punch people.
Surprise silence into Monet Stormhammer, but it's not enough. Kaiser is actually going to be able to get away. Again, it's one of those ganks that potentially turn into objective, but they have Glyph and TPs immediately from the side of HellRaisers. They are not going to let Super get an early objective off of this first ultimate.
I really love that reaction from HellRaisers. Just TPing, just being there beforehand, you know? I mean, it's only a level 1 Exorcism. Ever since they changed the scaling of the ultimate, it used to be like really bad at level 1, and then super good at level 2 and 3. Now it's just kind of okay. It's not super menacing to have only 8 spirits out. It's really level 12 where you start to feel, okay, if we try to push into this too hard, we're just gonna die. Because just the sheer damage output of that spell is so freaking absurd. But yeah, great TP. You see stuff like that and you wonder, okay, well the fight didn't break out, why did he TP? Well, the answer is just that they know that LFY want to push towers. And if they have a hero in front of the tower, it's harder to push. Logic is as simple as that.
Afu. Oh, he actually gets blocked out there by J4 using the Death Ward. Afu's still going to be fine, obviously. Only down to half HP, but he is not going to be able to defend. And his tower, not able to catch him there. Looks like he kind of missed the bounce back there. Flame Break. Still, though, it's a tier 1 trade for tier 1 trade. Did you say that, well, maybe not that. Actually,
no, it's definitely not.
Lane is super healthy.
Yeah, they don't even have ghosts, so not even a trade, just a straight up tower, just taken the side of HellRaisers. Feeling pretty confident about the way that they're playing this right now. Taking over the side of LFY's map, kind of existing in the jungle, still pressuring the tier 2 here even a little bit.
My question is, when does LFY start doing the same thing, right? When the pushes came from the side of LFY, they put 33 in front of him, right? They had him TP over. Like, okay, he's a big tanky hero, especially with that regen from Scorched Earth right now. Okay, fight into us, we'll see what happens. But when does Inflame start standing in front of these pushes? Well, it looks like it's finally going to happen. It's Afu makes his initiation. The Ravage goes out, only catching 2, and still not nearly enough to bring down the Doom, that's for sure. They needed so much more mini heroes. Oh my goodness, LFY, what are you doing? Where's the rest of them? Here comes the backup. It's finally here. They managed to get the silence. Monet comes in with God Strength, looks to rip apart the Doom. He'll be successful in the first round. Can he finish up more of these heroes? J4 turns around the paralyzing cast, though. That's going to make it hard to pursue. LFY with no creep wave, extremely susceptible to that bouncing stun, so all they get out of that was a Doom.
And the Doom took a ton to kill. Like, the commitment required to be able to take down 33 was massive.
Yeah.
And that he didn't even cast his Doom. Like, he says, okay, this fight's probably lost, I'm gonna hold on to my spell, try to live. If I can't, you know, oh well. He's still farming pretty darn well, sitting at roughly the same amount of CS as the Tidehunter, but obviously he's a Doom, so he has the use of Devour. He'll be able to catch up over time. I guess in that sense, Inflame has done a really good job at maintaining a pretty good amount of net worth. And yeah, it's a Tidehunter and a 1v1 against melee. You would kind of expect him to farm, but it's also needed because they need the mechanism to be up. Their 5-man potential needs to be better than it is right now.
They're definitely not expecting this rotation. Swift Ending is going to get caught out here because he actually doesn't have Shapeshift. So Super's going to be able to get in range with a Spirit Siphon. All of a sudden, Swift Ending realizes this isn't a 1v1 honorable man fight. It's a 1v2 where he's going to be the loser. Afu is going to be caught, though. The paralyzing cast bounce over to Super with the help of the burn. Looks like they can hit him just in time. Kaiser's going to go down to DDC, though. DDC didn't have his ultimate ready to go. And as a result, both him and the Death Prophet are going to end up going down. Another successful fight for HellRaisers, though it was 2 cores for a core and 2 supports, so it's kind of even.
I would actually still say it favors HellRaisers, just because let's ignore all the heroes that actually died, and let's take note of what abilities were used. and how they function with the team. Although, I guess Milan might be in a bit of trouble here. Maybe he turns around and
Really
gets caught out.
in trouble. He can't even TP out because they've got the lasso ready to go. So he tries to go for it, and he doesn't even bother using the lasso. He's like, nah, you're going to burn to death, dude.
Stone cold. I think if that last hit didn't crit, he might have made it out. But it's a 40% chance during shapeshift, so I guess it was pretty good odds.
Back over to top lane. The silence into the slow, the spirit siphon, close enough for Monet. Blink cannon, finish him off.
Nicely done.
But yeah, you were saying top lane fight, they used exorcism, right?
Yeah, that's the issue, right? It's like this ability has too long of a cooldown to not get objectives at this stage in the game. LFY are doing their best to push the tempo. They've even gone as far as just getting the Blink Dagger straight up on Monet after having the Mask of Madness completed, because they realize, hey, we need to do stuff because our 5-man is not really working out. I'd say if you're running into LFY and fighting into Exorcism every single time, if you're trading and you're losing a core or two every single time, it's still okay because the Death Prophet lineup really wants to push. And you know that your late game, Doom is not a bad late game hero. It's just getting to the late game sometimes can be problematic because he's not a strong laner. A lot of teams like to play fast. But this time, HellRaisers are doing a really good job at bringing the fight to LFY, forcing the ultimates out on their own terms. They're not letting LFY group up and pop ghosts.
You don't even let them get that one tower they're looking for in the top lane. They managed to deny that one. Inflame gets a little bit of revenge in denying the mid tower, but that's never going to feel good. Seeing your mid tower. HellRaisers are going to try and defend their mid tower, but there is going to be a smoke wraparound, one they're not expecting, especially with the Blink Dagger coming in. They're going to try and blow up the Doom again with the silence, making sure no ultimate goes off. And see if they can catch extra here as J4 going to be run down by Afu. Goes for TP. No, sir. Hammer to the face will stop that one. 9-7. That being said, HellRaisers, they may have lost that fight and they're going to lose their mid tower, but it is a lot of space for side lanes, which are aggressively being pushed in.
It's a big break for LFY, though, to get a kind of gift like that. Get the tower, don't have to pop any ultimates. Super really wants to wait until he hits 12, I think, to pop the next Exorcism, because it doubles effectiveness.
Surprise, they come out. DDC's here, though, so he's got the ultimate. They have to focus the Oracle. Oracle saves himself. Managed to get the Sonic Wave out on a Bolt. Kaiser silence up with no mana whatsoever. He does have a magic wand, though. He can blink away in a second, but the silence goes down for the Night Stalker this time around. Follow up the stun. The heal is just barely enough to keep Kaiser alive. Monet is not going to chase with his blink. He knows the Queen of Pain's going to be too far ahead of him, and on top of that, Shrine. So in the end, Oracle did die to that damage from the Sonic Wave. It looks like he wasn't able to heal quite enough.
Man, that was so close. They just needed a little bit more damage output, and they would have been able to take out the Queen. Those types of kills are really big when you don't have to commit a lot. So they would have had Ravage and they would have had Exorcism on top of the 2 picks back-to-back that we saw them get earlier. This is one of those games where it's only a 1K network lead right now for HellRaisers. And when you're playing into teamfight and you have a very even amount of net worth, usually the teamfight composition is the one that tries to apply pressure first. And then later on into the game, you'll see a little bit more split pushing. You know, HellRaisers get some extra items on the Leica and the Queen, the Doom. And that's when the teamfight lineup starts to feel a bit lackluster because they can't really form up as much as they want to. Right. So I'm still looking to LFY and thinking, okay, you got 12 now on Super, level 2 ulti, need to try to get something big.
You've got your Yule Scepter as well as the mech. Like, these are some of the core items for this early teamfight push. They've got them. Now you just got to make something happen. Especially with the early Blink Dagger from Monet as well. I think that's another like early pickup that's supposed to promote winning some of these fights.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great choice for this particular situation because you really just want to be able to get in and let the Ghost do damage. And in order to do that, if your Tidehunter is the one who's buying the mech, you have to be the initiator. Yeah. Because no one else on the team is going to buy Blink. It's you or Tide. I think that they have a very good understanding of how to split up the itemization in a way that you have all your bases covered. I mean, every team pretty much should be able to do that, but it's always just nice to see.
This is the kind of discrepancy we're talking about right now. If you look at the net worth of Super, who, granted, had a rough landing phase and all that, but he's a teamfight pushing hero that hasn't managed to take any real objectives. sitting at 5,800. Meanwhile, the Quap, who's free to kind of, go for some of these kills, but also play a lot of split pushing and farming up the side lane, is top of the network chart. Only contested by Monet. LFY are currently trying to do Roshan. HellRaisers have become wise to this one, but they're going to be initiated on. Monet managed to get the blink onto Milan, but they get a little bit of save here on the left-hand side. They also managed to get the Doom out onto the Tidehunter. TDC is trying to save as many of them as possible, but they're just getting overrun by HellRaisers. Super keeping himself alive bit by bit with the Spirit Siphon. Now the Ghost comes out. Yule Scepter buys him a little bit of time, and HellRaisers will play that back and forth game that we talked about. They need to be able to play the back and forth. It's the only way they can, because sometimes the team fight potential of a lineup is just too good to beat, and that's what we're seeing here with LFY, with their full Ghost out and the initiation going to LFY thanks to Monet blinking the way forward on the bat. And then the Doom managing to get the ultimate off on the Tidehunter wasn't enough to actually bring anybody down, so in the end, HellRaisers just had to back out.
I think what ended up happening there for HellRaisers, they had the perfect initiation, to be honest. You get the Doom on the Tide straight up, that's the best target.
Yeah.
You can stop ghosts from being cast and everything, and that's fine because it's a lot of damage that you're halting, but the control, I think, is one of the biggest issues when playing against this type of lineup. Because Tide hits you with a Ravage, all your momentum is just gone. But the problem was they doomed the hero, and then instead of just letting him run around with Doom and do nothing, they tried to kill him. Like, killing the Tide is real hard. Yeah. He's got a mech, he's got a hood, he's got 4 points in a Kraken, and he got his ult cast on by the Oracle, False Promise. So when you have that happen, you don't really want to commit damage to him. You want to just kill somebody else. Because Swift Ending was just punching him. And because he got saved, he wasted a lot of time dealing damage that could have been damage to other heroes that would have been fatal.
Right, like the Death Prophet who went down to like half HP.
Exactly.
That was pretty close. If they had overrun the Oracle earlier.
But he was kind of dropping really fast, so I think Swift Ending got a bit carried away. Monet, though, gonna spot out J4.
Pops got strength, and see how many swings it takes. Well, that may not actually get any. Oh, nice bump back there. Not sure if Milan intended that one, but he bumped him onto the cliff. There really was no chance for Monet to be able to pursue that kill on Witchstalker.
And this is where it gets a little bit scary for HellRaisers, because LFY are reaching close to, I would say, barring Refresher Tidehunter status. They're getting really close to one of the strongest power points they're going to reach this game.
So, in this point in the game, right, where LFY are kind of reaching a big peak, as HellRaisers, do you still try and force the fight onto LFY to kind of force out bad ultimates? Or?
I feel like you still want to.
Okay.
Because if you can get the Doom on the Tide like that, if you can take that fight, I think you want to.
Milan does have his 4 staffs, so unless LFY are willing to dive this one super deep, which they kind of are, and HellRaisers just looking at this going, at the end, it's a support Batrider. We don't really care that much. He's going to die, but you already see the line being drawn out by HellRaisers. They're like, push down mid, push down bottom, we're already pushing out top. Like, we have the map control. Who cares if they're right here next to our tier 2 when they have to run back to all these other lanes to deal with lane maintenance? Basically what it is, right? These creep waves push in, you have to provide some sort of maintenance to push them back out. Nothing really big gets accomplished by LFY unless they can actually finish up this Roshan.
This is going to be the second time in a row they've popped Ghost for this, so hopefully they can get it this time around. I think they should be able to. Not really much of a commitment here from HellRaisers, just pushing the side lane still. Inflame going to peel off, going to just force Swift Ending out of lane, where in the meanwhile, bottom, Kaiser, and 33 are just going to sit here and try to kill the tower. So Aegis going the way of LFY. Monet's going to go ahead and pick it up. He's still got a tremendous amount of farm. I think that at the very least, they want to try to get the rest of the towers up the map.
Fu, J4, nice TP immediately after the Void, and Swift Ending just gave him a little bit juke around the table. Doesn't buy a TP. I don't think he has one actually.
Oh, they saw
the trees, but he does manage to get up his ultimate. Yule Scepter and the Ensnare coming out. That should give him enough holding time to kill Swift Ending. In the meantime, though, Kaiser is pushing into tier 3, so LFY do have to deal with that eventually.
I think Monet's probably more than enough at this point. Able to force the Queen of Pain back. And just both teams like kind of scrapping it out, just trying to get every single tiny advantage they can, whether it be lane equilibrium, whether it be, popping an ult for Roshan. I think that using Exorcism for Roshan is like okay in the situation, because you're putting a timer up where it's like, okay, 6 minutes. You're not going to want to fight us head-on for like 6 minutes. And in that time, you're obviously going to have your ult come back up. Hopefully you can get something done. I mean, the tier 1 bottom is still alive.
It allows Monet to do things like this, right? Like by himself, he can push out the bottom lane. Feels like he has Aegis. We see a lot of teams do this. They don't grab the Aegis and immediately 5-man into a tower. They grab the Aegis and they get map control with it because the enemy team just doesn't want to fight into an extra life. Especially that extra life is on the split pushing hero. Milan? Monet just run him down. Little bump back there with Flame Break. That helps. Tries to just buy as much time as possible. There's no way he's getting out of this one with only a force down. But, all right, that's a little bit more time. TP out. Nice. That is actually going to get him. No!
He TP'd too late.
Yeah, if he'd done that play a little bit earlier, higher HP, maybe, just maybe, he would have gotten out.
Yeah, it was a weird thing though, because I'm pretty sure Monet had a pathing thing where like he clicked and it sent him back instead of sending him forward. I'm pretty sure that's the only reason that Milan was able to get that far in the first place. But LFY walking down bottom as 5. Kaiser's still doing a split push thing. I'm kind of surprised you don't see more of like the Maelstrom earlier on when Queens play this kind of split pushy style, because Mjolnir is still a great item when you hit level 25. And a lot of the time as Queen, you are getting solo EXP because you're either across the map or you're killing people.
And do you really need the extra defense? Like, you've already got one defensive item in Lincoln Sphere. You already have armor coming out with Veil and Discord. Shiva's as a completed item was gonna be nice, yes, but I'm kind of with you on like an earlier Maelstrom if you're gonna play this kind of style.
I just think that it lends itself perfectly to the Queen of this meta. It's just you split push a lot, you fight when you have to. You basically play like a position 1, because you're just always in the spot where it's like the most dangerous and you're farming. That used to be the way you used to play cores. Nowadays, maybe it's a little bit different, but for the most part, you're still just soaking up farm, you're split pushing all the time, you have a Lincolns. Really hard for you to die. Swift Ending in the meantime, gonna get spotted out.
Swift Ending is a tanky beast. He's got 3k HP when he pops on the armlet and Strength Treads, plus the BKB available. Easy hero for LFY to bring down. That's probably why they're not going to focus him, if possible, and just try and kite that damage as much. HellRaisers continuing to keep those threats, always having one lane pushing in that tier 2 area. Inflame by himself is not going to be enough to stop this push. Kaiser knows that too. He's going to try and force more heroes down here. He's saying, no, no, no. I'm not going to be scared away by just one of you.
He's still lacking a bit in the mana regen department too. That's one thing about Queen I think that she suffers from a ton, is just you never have mana. Like if you're pushing waves really hard and you're like blanking off cooldown, you need at minimum 2 mana items, I feel, to feel comfortable just using your spells off CD.
Drums popped, a very fast Doombringer starts booking it towards Inflame, but he's already out. Nightstalker popped Dark. So HellRaisers force some sort of reaction. They're gonna TP back to mid. Though, are they ready to defend a tier 2? I really don't think so. Maybe if they had Blink on Batrider and saw an opportunity, maybe they could fight, but without that kind of hard form initiation, I don't think tier 2s are worth it.
It's rough even with the Blink, I feel, because of the Oracle. Yeah, if DDC is in the right spot, you can end up just owning yourself. You get an immediate false promise, or maybe even just a Fate's Edict could be enough, depending on who else is hitting him inside of the lasso to keep him alive. And HellRaisers being forced back inside of their base for the time being. This is exactly what LFY want. If the team that you're playing against has better split push than you and you can confine them to their base, that feels great. Yeah. Like, you want the Queen to TP back. You want the Lycan to TP back. Whenever you see that, you just smile. You're like, alright, perfect. This is what we want.
Couple of cool pickups here. LFY's Monet is actually going to go for a Lincoln Sphere. And then we've got, on the other side of the table, Diffuser Blade on the Lycan. That was the other one. Against the Scepter, Death Prophet. So you don't have that, you know, free 2.5 seconds for Spirit Siphon and Exorcism to do more. Does manage to catch 33 here, turns around, threatens the Doom, but he realizes there's no point, right?
Yeah.
I'm dead. We're not going to kill anything. Just hold on to that ability. But Afu! Team is out.
Very nicely done. going back to the Diffusal Blade, we can't forget about the all-important Warcry.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, you purge Warcry, that's 12% movement speed and 20 armor that you're removing. When you're trying to hunt a hero like Oracle, it makes a big difference.
J4 tried to TP out, but Yule Scepter will stop that. Now, the 2 cores are nearby. They don't want to fight. Ghost still out.
Yeah, it's definitely getting to that territory where LFY are feeling like, you know, they want to go in and they want to try to do something about this. Just try to end it. I think that Afu realized that Kaiser didn't have a TP scroll because he was kind of sitting around like scouting him out because he knew it was night vision.
Yeah.
He was maybe just looking to cancel the TP. But LFY, they're knocking at the door right now of HellRaisers. There needs to be a response to this.
Kaiser's got to be careful about how he gets back to base. Monet chops down a tier 3. The initiation comes forward. Milan uses up Force Staff to break the Lincolns, but now he's going to be caught by the Ravage along with 2 of his teammates. He gets blown up. HellRaisers, their 3 cores not sure what to do as the high ground push comes in from LFY, and they just seem kind of unstoppable. 33 comes forward, does man to Doom onto Super, stops one Spirit Sight from coming out, but one's already down. Monet is going to be able to survive thanks to DDC. With the ultimate, they're just running down a lot of the HellRaisers heroes. They're going to have to pop multiple shrines here. And even as they heal up to near full, it's still not enough for them to chase down LFY despite the abilities being used. In fact, if anything, LFY are going to be feeling pretty comfortable to go high ground again in just 30 seconds.
That was a... it is so hard to fight into the 5-man of LFY. Even as good as HellRaisers were doing a majority of the game, up until that fight happened around the barracks and, you know, prior to that when they got Rosha, and the advantage was only like 2k or 1k. It was not anything substantial at all. And now all of a sudden you're looking at it and it's now 12k. And Afu is going to go ahead and fly himself to safety thanks to the Hunter in the night. But this is kind of the reason why I said if you have even net worth and you're the teamfight team, you normally are the ones who are making the moves. Because you carry the items at that stage in the game just straight up better. Your heroes hit their stride faster, you have this crazy 5-man potential, you just walk down a lane, you try to end the game.
So at what point does HellRaisers, you know, early on they were able to fight in some team fights and it looked okay, but what about now? When can they actually take a 5-on-5 against LFY? Or can they ever?
Well, before that, might see a Queen of Pain die here. Ouch, big crit. That's only with a Chrysalis as well. Still hit for 1100. But as far as when do you fight, I think it's about how the fights break out. So if the Bat Rider is able to lasso somebody and then you get a Doom on an important target, that is how the fight is won as HellRaisers. You saw what happened when they were fighting around Roche the first time.
Right.
When they popped Ghosts, if they had just focused anybody else but the Tide, I think they would have crushed that. Because they had so long where Inflame couldn't pop the Ravage, and they could have just decimated the supports. They could have killed the Oracle, they could have killed the Night Stalker, you know, whoever else. Just don't attack the hero that's doomed because he can't do anything anyway. And you're playing into what LFY want by attacking the literal tankiest hero at that point in the game. So it's more about, you know, what we could do at that stage in the game more than it is about what we can do now. Because the way they take the fights is still essentially the same. It's just harder.
Gone from maybe a 4k lead for HellRaisers in the early part of the game, and now upward 16,000 gold lead for LFY. 1 lane of racks down, or at least the important racks down. It's gone from the top lane.
Yep.
Shrines have all been taken. LFY have total map control and are pretty much just kind of like biding their time. If they really want to, they can wait for the next Aegis. There's no real timer for them, right? Because they have a Sven. It's not like Sven, you're like worried about our Sven capping out soon. You know, that guy is a beast late game.
Yeah. All it takes is like 1 or 2 crits and a team fight's just over.
Yeah. It's actually going to be... Is Crystallis?
It's a really good build. Recognizing that he doesn't need BKB this game. That's probably one of the greatest feelings in the world. Being in a game as Sven, being like, wow, I don't actually need to buy BKB.
That's a lot of safe laners, right?
Yeah, it is actually the worst feeling in the world to being like, man, at some point in the game, I just have to commit 4,000 gold to this item.
Yeah.
I just don't have a choice. But I mean, a lot of it also has to do with the fact that he's playing so well around his team.
Milan? Okay, you pulled Afu up on the cliff. What next, Milan? What next? Because he's just going to fly right down. wing-on-wing action, but where was it all going to lead, Mohan?
Well, he had an idea.
I don't know what that idea was. Do you, Draskell?
Well, I mean, in this type of scenario, you could probably already say that LFY have the substantial lead, and he was probably just trying to scout out for Roche. And he saw a hero, and he goes, oh, maybe I can just clip him. And just, you know, you have that temporary lapse in judgment for like just a split second, and it's already too late. Everyone's been there.
As a result, Darkness has been forced into a good result for LFY. They managed to get the Aegis and Cheese into their hands once again. Tidehunter holding on to the Cheese. Death Prophet with the Aegis.
I think it's just because Monet doesn't want to get rid of any of the items in his inventory. Everything serves a distinct purpose on Sven. Like, you don't buy an item without it being, like, integral to a certain part of the game. So SNY, Blink, and Mask of Madness are all... They're pretty much farming tools, but obviously Blink gives you the initiation as well. And the Linken's for lasso, and the crit for damage. And then that's it. That's all you need. I mean, sure, sometimes you put BKB in probably the place of the Linken's in this inventory, but most of the time Sven's item progression is pretty set in stone.
There goes from feeling like he doesn't need BKB to feel...
I don't need that Aegis. Give it to the Death Prophet.
And after all, Death Prophet and Sven have a similar downside to Aegis, right?
Yeah.
And that they are both... have some sort of ability that changes their hero to be very strong, but if they die and they come back, they don't have that ability. Exorcism being down, Death Prophet is just not the same hero. Same goes with God.
Yeah, it's a really good way to look at it. I think that because of how farmed Monet is, he's probably less reliant on his ultimate than, say, you know, Super.
Sure.
But both heroes not really the best of Aegis carriers. Okay, that was a Ravage.
What?
Yeah, I think he just fat-fingered. That's the only explanation.
Oh, well. It's not like they're on a timer.
I think he saw it, to be honest. Because Kaiser was there, and then he saw the tie TP, and he TP'd away. Because he Ravaged a creep wave.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe it's a show of dominance Ravage. It's like, yeah, I know you saw it. Doesn't matter.
Think I care? 33? Trouble. Monet. Oh my goodness. Kaiser does get off a good ultimate, but really it's not enough. LFY are tanking enough that Sonic Wave doesn't really seem like much. J4 almost gets one shot there by Monet. There have been used Diffuser Play charges and now a lasso just to keep Monet from right-clicking, but they can't stop him. DDC throws out the offering and they are going to be able to heal Monet up to full and let him continue to be the wrecking ball he always dreamed of as a young boy. Catches Kaiser. Lincoln's will block that Stormhammer though. And the rest of LFY will focus on the objective. Super with the Exorcism will make short work of this Tier 3 tower, and HellRaisers, with only 3 cores remaining, don't really have much to be able to stand up. In fact, Swift Ending's going to be gone on without his ultimate. Chop, 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 chop. Wolves, wood, doesn't matter. Monet will take it all. Kaiser is going to have to blink its way back to the fountain. And LFY are just owning all of HellRaisers' base now. It's all theirs. It's all indeed. Kaiser barely makes it back to his shrine. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Milan is going through shrine after shrine, trying to stay away from Monet, but he won't be able to do it. 33 with the Doom. Still no real good target. Maybe he's going to throw it out now. Does throw it onto Inflame while they focus on Monet, trying to get the damage in. Trying to get there with this Infernal Blade. He turns around with the God Strength. 2 shots him. Goes for J4 as well. Kaiser's damage. He just looks impotent against the rest of LFY. And that is it. LFY take game number 1. It looked like kind of a rough start with them. Their beginning score was like 4-1 with the big CS lead by HellRaisers, but the laning phase was all they had. As LFY just got stronger and stronger every minute the game went on.
I think it kind of plays into what you mentioned about the draft very early. It's just hard to play their lineup. It's much, much harder than LFY's game where it's walk up to building, hit R buttons, take building, or fight. Like that's pretty much, I mean, it's an oversimplification for sure.